If you have been following my channel for a while, you probably know that I traveled to Virginia to check out 2 theme parks, and one of them was the legendary King's Dominion. King's Dominion is located just north of Richmond and Doswell, and I had a great time at this park. So in this video, I'll be recapping how my day at King's Dominion went down. So I did get to visit this park with my uncle, and it was his first time going to a park in 12 years. The last time he visited a park was Darien Lake back in 2012, so it was a big moment for him. So on the drive there, we realized that this park is located in the middle of nowhere. We were 10 minutes away, and there was barely any civilization. Side note, we did take the back roads to get there, but before entering the park, we stopped at a Burger King located next door to King's Dominion, and let me tell you, it took a while to get the food. We entered before 11, which is when the park opened, but it was around 11:15 when we got the food, and we were supposed to be in the park by then, so I don't really recommend going there. So we entered the park and were greeted with International Street. It surprisingly didn't give me deja vu. It felt original in a way. I think it's because Kings Island Street is open and you can see the coasters, but here you can't. So we took a left and I rode my first coaster credit of 2025. Yeah, I know, I was late for that scenario. But we rode Dominator first. And Dominator was a great floorless coaster. It actually exceeded expectations. I definitely take it over Kraken at SeaWorld Orlando. And that is because Dominator is smoother. And I don't like B&Ms that feel like rocks in a blender. But we will get to that later. But I loved Dominator. I rode it twice, which was once in the front and back. And funny enough, it was the first ride of the day and the last ride of the day. So for smoothness, the front wins. But for the forces and whip, the back wins. So as of now, I don't know which row is better. So after Dominator, we headed into Jungle Expedition, and that's where we rode our second coaster of the day, Reptilian. This is the only bobsled coaster in America, and Reptilian was pretty surprising. It did exceed expectations as well. The final helix there pulls some very strong forces, and it did feel like riding a shopping cart down a cobblestone road. If you're a plus-size rider, you're in luck, because this is the only coaster at King's Dominion that is fat-friendly, and it's pretty good for what it is. So after Reptilian, we hit up the new for 2025, Terra. And it hurts to say this, but after one ride, that was all I needed. Terra was the most disappointing coaster of the trip, and that's because after the first 2 elements, it is a shaky mess. I rode it on the inside seat on the left wing, and my right leg was constantly smacking into the bar, and it was not pleasant. I still think it's a good ride though, like the launch is great, and the airtime hill had some great floater, but when you're turning left or right after the dive loop, it's not the most comfortable experience, for me at least. So after Terra, the logical ride to do next was Tumbili, but I wanted to save that for later since I wasn't in the mood to ride it. But that was the biggest regret I had it at King's Dominion. You'll see why towards the end. But we walked towards the area around Flight of Fear and hit up Backlot Stunt Coaster up next. It felt really nostalgic traversing this layout again, but for this one, there were no effects. So I give the edge to Kings Island for having the best Backlot clone. But it wasn't that different, it was just the placement. So after Backlot, we rode Flight of Fear next. And this felt exactly the same as the one at Kings Island. First launch was great, the corkscrew had some good hang time, but everything else was a rally piece of crap, so there was nothing to shout at. So after Flight of Fear, there was an area where you could film Terra cycling, and I tried my best to get as much off-ride footage as possible. And I'm actually proud of myself since I got a little over 3 minutes worth of footage, while compared to others, I did a great job. So after constantly filming Terra, we walked a bit for the classic Racer 75. Me and my uncle did both sides so we can race each other, and it was solid for what it is. It wasn't great, but not bad. It was like the Racer at Kings Island, but the dial was turned back just a little bit. Some of the hills didn't deliver any airtime, but it was smooth for a wooden coaster. So if I had to sum it up, it's alright. If you want 2 extra coaster credits to bump up your credit count, ride both sides of Racer 75. So after Racer 75, we walked through Candy Apple Grove and went for the extremely uncomfortable Apple's Apple. Before riding this, I had never ridden a wand mouse before, so I was pretty intrigued. So I hopped on with my brother and we were slamming into each other on the hairpin turns, and the laterals there were so strong that it actually kind of hurt. My brother didn't like it, but I thought it was fine. I could imagine if you're riding with no one sitting next to you, it would be more fun. But after one ride, I was good. But the ride next door to Apple's Apple was the star of the show, and that was Twisted Timbers, which we rode up next. And no surprise, it is the best coaster of the entire trip. I love it so much. I rode it 5 times in total that day, and the airtime is so freaking aggressive. It's Iron Gwazi level aggressive. The layout is pure airtime hills and it feels like you're riding a bucking bull. It throws you with absolutely no mercy. I remember after my first ride, I wanted a break, but we came back later and rode it 4 times in a row. And after those, I had legit bruises on my thighs and they were colored purple. That just shows how aggressive this coaster is. And I have a very funny memory. During one of those rides, my shirt wasn't really tucked in, so it was just flying out and it came up towards my collarbone. It started to happen here and I was shouting, "My shirt's coming off!" So when I hit the final brakes, I just pulled it down as fast as I could because I didn't want to flash anybody in the station, and me and my uncle were dying laughing. Now we can say that Twisted Timbers tried to take my shirt off. I can't get enough of this ride. So afterwards, we took a well-deserved break, and then we rode our last credit of the day, which was Grizzly. And this reminded me of a little beast. It's because of the setting. Grizzly is so isolated that you have to walk through a literal gift shop to access the ride, but the retracking that the gravity group did made this coaster really smooth. but they need to do that in a few more spots, especially the final hills. I thought it was good, but not great. I much prefer the actual beast over Grizzly. So if you remember at the beginning of the video how skipping Tumbili was a bad idea, this was why. So we hiked back to Jungle X to do Tumbili, but a staff member at the entrance said the ride was closed. I had a sigh of relief and disappointment, and that's because I've heard free spins are pretty polarizing. But do I regret not riding Tumbili? A little bit. I will ride it next time I go to King's Dominion though. So after hearing that Tumbili was closed, we headed over to Dominator for the last ride of the day. I did the back and it was shakier, but the whip hit harder, especially in the double corkscrews. So after a ride on Dominator, I got my merchandise, aka a shirt for the different rides at King's Dominion, a shirt for Twisted Timbers, and a Pantherian Nano coaster. And that summed up my day at King's Dominion. I walked out with 10 coaster credits acquired. So I want to hear from you guys. Have you been to King's Dominion before? And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like. We are getting very close to our goal of reaching 700 subscribers, and the support you all are giving really means a lot. And for the next video, it's going to be how my day went at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. So stay tuned for that, and make sure to keep that adrenaline pumping, and I hope you had a fun 4th of July.